Hello everybody, and welcome to this video in which I'm going to show you the process in how to build a very organic shape. And for this one we're going to use a cloth iron because the one actually nearly has no flat surfaces. We're actually going to rebuild this one quite precisely. So we're putting in the body, we're separating the body, we're putting in the buttons, and then we're also going to look into how to apply materials to it and then render it. So there's actually a lot of modeling and design steps I can show you in this model. But before we're going to build something, let's assume you actually would like to wrap a prototype, something like this. We have to build the piece in Blender in scale. And to help myself a little bit, as you can see, I created some two-dimensional profile sketches. And I measured the length of the iron part, which is 9 inches long. And from front view, I kind of like estimated a cross section. And I measured that half of the maximum width of that iron part is 2.5, so 5 inches complete together. And I measured only 1/2 because it's a symmetrical object, so I'm going to build it only 50% and then interactively mirror the rest over. Another very important thing to notice is you can see that those sketches are basically built in a way that they all line up correctly. And actually I just noticed this one here has to be there. Okay, I was a little bit too short. So when I generate then my images and I put them into my CAD application, all those different views actually line up. This program here is called Pixelmator. It's a very lightweight Photoshop replacement for me because it starts very fast. It has basically all the tools I really need. I have Photoshop as well somewhere, but I actually stopped using it a lot. And those views I'm going to export as PNGs. So when you're in Photoshop or any other program, use PNGs, not JPEGs. JPEGs are fine, but they do not have transparent backgrounds. PNGs have transparent backgrounds. And you see here my sketches, they are all transparent. So for example, this is a front view. I could go export, and here actually I have already my views exported. Yes, all right. Okay. Then let's go into Blender. I'm going to show you a new tool today. So, business as usual. To make things easy for me, I make sure that my 3D cursor is centered X, Y, and Z at the world center. And then I'm going to add an empty and an image empty. Think about the image empty kind of like as a canvas into which you could load an image. So you see there's now kind of like this canvas or that empty, it's rectangular shape. And then if you go to the settings for the empty, see where my mouse is, looks like a triangle. It basically represents X, Y, and Z. The type is set to image. And I can go open, I go to my desktop, and maybe the front view. Okay, and if I go into top view, I see it. The nice part about those empty planes is you can see them in 3D view. And with the background image, what I showed you before, everything is only set to orthographic views. I know this one I have to rotate, so Rx minus 90, oh actually positive 90. And there is my drawing. Then let's bring in another image. Oh, wrong position. Cursor to selected, image. Okay, and I'm going to load the side view. Now this one has to go 90 degrees as well. And then from here, top view, 90 degrees. Okay, yeah. That looks somewhat okay. And now I can move this one maybe a little bit to there. This one I move in a little bit, and then I could, for example, go into front view and then move this one till, for example, everything is correct, like there. Okay, so that's so far lined up, for example, my images. I created those sketches actually to scale, so they are with dimensions. And inside the image, I have, for example, reference lines. This one represents 9 inches. So now I have to set up the dimension of my scene. So I go to the Scene tab, click Imperial, and now a very easy way, just create a cube and then say this cube, 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches. Okay. And for example, now I can, let's switch to the 3D cursor for scaling. And in this situation, I'm going to select both of my canvases. And then I just try to scale this one down. Okay. Maybe let's move this one over. Scale. Okay. So you see I try to scale and match that the black line actually will flow inside one of my, or inside my cube. And because I scaled both at the same time, I'm pretty sure that, for example, the other sketch plane also has the right dimension. So this one now I scaled to 2.5, and there you can see it fits. Perfect. So I have my two things set up. The last thing maybe, I don't want them to be clickable all the time, because when I start modeling, I don't want to, by accident, click them all the time. So maybe we can, let's say, rename those. So this one is empty image site. Copy, and this one here, maybe empty image front. Okay. In upper right corner where my mouse is, we have something that's called the outliner. The outliner basically, well, as the name says, outlines all the different objects you have inside your scene. So for example here, as you can see, I have those two empties. It also tells you what is associated or linked to each empty. So you see the images. And then there are visibility flags. So if you click an eye, you can make it invisible. And if you click an arrow, see if this one I can't click, they are then not selectable. So they're there all the time, but you can't really select them. But let's say I don't want them to also be visible all the time. So I maybe move them to maybe this layer. So every time when I start working and I don't want to see them, I just switch to a different layer. If I want to see them, I turn the layer on. Okay, so this basically concludes how to set up everything for the scene, and we're going to pack the files into the blend file and then take a visit to your best friend, your save command. And let's save it compressed onto the desktop. Okay, so that was for how to save the file and how to prepare all our scene. I decided to introduce you to two more interesting facts about those image empties. And let's say you would like to replace an image, because I packed those PNG images into my Blender file, I can't simply reload, for example, a new sketch. So what does that mean? Let's say I go to Pixelmator and let's say add something. Then I go to export PNG and select my front view, export. It doesn't really show up here. If I select this front sketch, go to here, you also see that this icon looks like a box with a document inside. That means this file is actually packed into Blender. So it is not this file on my desktop anymore. But that's not really a big problem, because what I would like to introduce is another mode that's actually the UV and specifically the image editor. So if I go to here and maybe scale this one a little bit to this, there you can see that front view PNG, front view PNG. So this image editor basically loads that file that I put onto this sketch plane. And if I go to image and reload, ta-da, there you see it. It actually opened it from the desktop. I could also replace, so for example, let's say I delete this one and then I say export PNG, maybe front view photo or V2, and then image replace, because then it asks me which image I would like to use to replace it. So that's one way how you could exchange, for example, different profiles or sketches, different ideas. But there's another way how you could do this. So instead of always going into my sketch application, what happens if maybe I would like to do that right inside Blender? And that's possible. So inside my image editor, I press N, or I click on this plus icon to open my palette on the left side. And then I switch the mode from viewing an image to painting an image. And if you scroll down a little bit, then there's paint. And you have different types: brush, clone, smear, soften. So you have a color selector, you have a radius selector. Radius means like how big is your brush. And you have a strength. Strength means how strong or saturation. Now you can also simply, while your mouse is inside the image area, press F for the radius. So you see I adjust the radius. And when you press Shift F, you can switch the strength by just sliding your mouse left and right. Or you can also click in here and type in a value. And then when you have a tablet and a pen, you can start sketching in here. Maybe smearing. So soften. Well, I mean, those are lines you don't really see there a lot right now. And when you have a tablet and a pen, you just flip your tablet, and then the back button, for example, is going to be my eraser. So I can, if I need to, for example, sketch in new profile ideas right onto the image right inside Blender, or I could add some annotations to it. And you also see here on the left side in 3D view, whatever I draw, it instantly, for example, is visible here. So that's actually a really nice tool. You see those buttons here, they actually mean that based on how much I press, the stroke changes in terms of strength or saturation or radius. So I actually like using this a lot, and later when we go into Alias, you will see that Alias also has a sketch application right inside the program, because sometimes you don't necessarily want to switch all the time between Photoshop and your CAD program if you want to adjust kind of like just some very basic sketch information. So it's nicer when you can do it right inside your application. And currently only here we only have two planes, but let's assume maybe you have different planes or different cross sections and you want to add some more details. So that's what you can use it for.